It is the Champagne Comedy Podcast where they review all the episodes of The Late Show.
Yeah, The Late Show, yes.
Legendary.
Yes.
Thank you, Philip Brady and Simon Owens, for your intro of our theme, which I may or may not have altered a little bit. And welcome to episode 36 of the Champagne Comedy Podcast, where we talk about the best Australian comedy show from the 90s ever made, The Late Show, and other D-Generation comedy tidbits. My name is Matt, and joining this podcast today is the usual gang of... Oh, no, I can't say that word. I was about to refer to idiots, but that's...
Hey, thanks a lot.
What's that from? The usual gang of idiots. No, that's a Mad Magazine reference. I do apologise. But we have Alison, Daniel, Kim and Tony.
Hi. Hello.
All right, but thanks for joining us today, and we might as well get on with it. We're pushing the drive here. We still get our bar jars competition where we want you to record your favourite quote from bar jars, or you do your best impression plus a raspberry. Now, and the best ones that we end up choosing, which is at the discretion of us, the panel, is you could win the Bar Jars / Bluey box set from Crawford's DVD, sponsored by mygeekculture.com.au, where it's all original episodes of Bluey. And second prize is the Champagne Comedy Late Show DVD best bits that we've all pretty much know and love, but this one's unopened and brand new, so...
Ideal as a backup.
Yes. So here's what we've got, because I've actually never played the entries. I've been kind of leading everyone on for a bit.
How many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. Oh, Christ. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Here's my response, Bowden.
Right, I need something from the heart. Something unmistakably barge-ass. Don't break my ass, my bargy-wargy ass. I don't think my pants would understand. Oh, but if you... Christ, was that me or the door? Bet this never happens to Reg Lindsay. Howdy, partner. Is that a Najee shirt? Nah, it's a bargy shirt. All right, kids, let it rip.
A choir.
Don't break my ass, my bargy-wargy ass. I don't think my pants would understand. And if you break my ass, bargy-wargy ass, might blow up and kill this man.
Thank you so much, Alex, Kate, Karim, Leonard, Puglia, and Tim Chuma for sending those in. So they at least have a 25% chance of winning right now. That's what we're after, and I'm going to remix those as best as I can into a bit of a mashup.
I'm amazed at the choir of fartists there.
Yeah, that sounds like a family affair from Leonard.
Never not funny, are they, fart jokes? You know, particularly really drawn out farts like some of the examples we heard there. Really excellent stuff. I'm disappointed as always that there isn't a lady barge ass or at least a woman submitting an Anne Burke. That would be nice.
Simply half flush or full. That's all you need to quote. Or it's not you. It's the Spuds talking.
Yeah. Natalie Fireblaster is also eligible to enter.
Yes.
So yeah, please enter the competition and decrease the chances of winning.
Exactly. Now, as an extra sweetener, other than the Bluey box set, other than the runner-up of the Champagne Edition DVD, and also some really cool CDs from Potluck contestant Michael Warren.
Yes, don't forget Michael.
Yes, so thank you very much, Michael, for that. We also have something which you are all going to love. It's rare.
Yeah, Chris Kendall shared it to Champagne Comedy on Facebook.
Someone had to get it. And all I can say is thank you, Daniel, for making the effort for tracking this item down. Now, I'll leave it to you, Daniel.
Chris Kendall posted to Champagne Comedy on Facebook a picture of a framed poster of Joan Kerner in her leather jacket playing guitar doing her rendition of I Love Rock and Roll from Season 2, Episode 13.
And I love rock and roll. Put another dime in the jukebox, baby. I love rock and roll. Come and take your time and dance with me. Ow! And
So there it is there. So somebody took a snap of it and sent it to us saying that it was spotted today in an op shop in Brighton. Adelaide's Brighton, I should point out. Now, they didn't specifically say which op shop, and there are quite a lot of op shops on Brighton Road in Brighton. Basically, the day after it was posted, I went on a bit of an expedition. The RSPCA op shop didn't have it. The Save the Children op shop didn't have it. Vinnie's and Salvo's, no dice. Although I did get a lot of good CDs and DVDs. I got an Adam Hill stand-up DVD, Judith Lucy's Spiritual Journey, the single by Mr. G, Chris Lilly, Naughty Girl.
Oh, my Lord.
Was there any questions for Ben DVDs?
I haven't found it yet. Well, I was looking very quickly in a couple of them because they closed a bit early, but basically I couldn't find it in those 4. So I had another look at that photo on Facebook, and I did notice on a sign that was nearby, and also my brother, who has much more eagle eyes, spotted a couple of labels that had a little red plus sign, and suddenly I realised, hang on, is there a Red Cross shop around here? And lo and behold, I got there 10 minutes before 5, and I've got it!
Yay!
I found rock and roll! So it's a framed poster of Joan Kerner, headlined Joan Jett and the Fishnets, backed by popular demand. And it turns out it's actually a signed poster. It wasn't that clear in the Facebook photo, but to Chris and Les, best wishes, Joan E. Kerner, 2638, which is her birthday. And it's a poster essentially advertising her 60th birthday party. Special singing guest stars Jenny George, David White, Sharon Burrow, Julia Gillard, where have I heard her name before? Sue Walpole, Jane Clifton, and many more breathtaking performers. So it's a souvenir framed poster, and it's even autographed. It'll be even more ideal for anybody who's named Chris or Les. And I think, especially to drive up entries to our bar jazz competition, I think this should be added to the prize pool.
Consider it done.
So here you go. This is, well, it's worth $30 at least. Money well spent, money going to the Red Cross. And, it can be yours.
Now get your bar jazz quotes and in to champagnelateshow@gmail.com. And you have until episode 39 because the reveal will be in episode 40. So right now, this is episode 36. So you've got a few more episodes left. And it is the poster, or it is the celebration that where the infamous, or not infamous, I guess, the famous photo that gets constantly sent and retweeted of Julia Gillard rocking out on stage with Joan Kerner. It's that party.
Yeah, it's that party that this poster is advertising.
Thanks, Daniel. Now it's time for...
I've got the paper! I've the paper!
More Daniel G, and this time it's with his program guide.
Okay, so this is all from Ross Warnicki's critical guide from the Saturday night. Ross Warnicki's comments next to the listings. So on Channel 7 we've got Inspector Morse, this episode titled The Last Bus to Woodstock. Says Warnicki, a secretary from an insurance firm is found murdered in a car park, and Morse is bewildered by a coded message found in her bag. Now, considering it's a secretary from an insurance firm, I'd kind of prefer to see that detective from the Budget Direct commercials trying to solve this one myself.
Watch out for the dog with the lightsaber.
Exactly. Over on Channel 9, we've got Hey Hey It's Saturday. Guests include John Stevens performing Going Down. We had Will Wilde, Russell Gilbert, and Effie playing Celebrity Head. We had the cast of Five Guys Named Mo performing a song from the musical called Choo Choo Boogie. Then we had Marty and Maury Fields doing the greatest Aussie joke. The great Aussie joke. Maybe they weren't the greatest. Molly Meldrum interviewed Michael Hutchence in Molly's Melodrama. Red Faces had the judges Tracy Harvey and from Five Guys Named Mo, Charles Organs. We also had George Coleman on drums and Claire Martin performing The Devil May Care. And to finish things off, Tony performing their hit If I Had No Loot. Now, if you want to watch any of those, you can go to heyhey.tv and pay your $6.95 a month, or you can just wait for Hey Hey, it's 217 years if you want. Did any of you guys watch the Hey Hey, it's 100 years special?
I saw a bit of it, and I am surprised that you are surprised it wasn't much good.
Don't tell Hey Hey, it's the podcast, man. They'll be roped.
Yeah, it was all right, but it seemed to have a bit of an air of, please let us back on the telly. This sort of thing should be on the telly again. Please let us back.
That's everything Daryl has done since the last revival of Hey Hey. It's just, I mean, it was so weird to have a show that's just clips that starts with Daryl coming on stage and having fake applause and him going, hey, it's great to be back. Yeah, it's like, back where? Nothing is there. You're in front of a green screen.
All right, we'll get back
enough
into the
attacking
program.
Daryl
Right?
for one night.
Oh, there's never enough.
Well, yes, but still.
After Hey Hey, it's Saturday, we've got The Karate Kid. Says Warnicki, 1983 martial arts adventure with Pat Morita as a Japanese handyman who teaches karate and self-confidence to a scrawny teenager played by Ralph Macchio, who is being harassed by bullies. Likeable film pitched primarily at the youth market that spawned 2 inglorious sequels. Over on Channel 10, it's sort of hard to tell. I haven't really watched The Karate Kid, to be honest.
I love the first Karate Kid. Wax on, wax off. And, you know, I as a kid, I absolutely devoured the sequels. So, you know, horses for courses.
Is the 4th one the one where they have an entirely different Karate Kid?
Yeah. No one cares about the 4th one.
Is that the one with one of Will Smith's kids?
No, that's a much later one.
Yeah, that's the reboot.
Hilary Swank as
right,
the next Karate Kid, and then there was the reboot, The Karate Kid with Jaden Smith in it. And then you got the whole continuation, which is Cobra Kai on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Over on Channel 10, we've got another movie called Hope and Glory. Says Warnicki, diverting Oscar-nominated 1987 story of English family life during World War II, told through the eyes of 9-year-old Billy, played by Sebastian Rice Edwards. The boy compensates for some ordinary performances by Sarah Miles as his mother and Ian Bannon. Directed by John Borman, whose 3 previous films had been fantasies and nowhere near as creditable or human as this.
Didn't John Borman direct Zardos with Sean Connery? I mean, come on. And he definitely directed Excalibur. So, you know, in the bin with Warnicki yet again.
And also, again, these all seem to be movies that I've never watched. I mean, well, we're coming out to SBS. I've definitely never watched this one. Another movie called Les Doulos, a confused 1962 French underworld tale of a crook, Cillian, played by Jean-Paul Belmondo, who rats on a mate. The main problem is that Cillian's motivation and his behaviour is so hard to follow. Or, as the SBS ad in the Green Guide puts it pithily, superb realism in a classic film of dishonour among thieves. And now we get to the ABC, so the lead-in, once again, Birds of a Feather.
What'll I do?
Season 2, Episode 15, titled Someone Else's Baby. Antiques Roadshow arrives in Chigwell, and the girls go into Tracy's loft. Ooh. Sharon discovers some letters written by her mother suggesting either she or Tracy were adopted. After some arguing between the two sisters, Sharon invites Auntie Sylvie to their house, who finally tells them that they were both adopted, but they are still biological sisters. Meanwhile, Dorian goes to the Antiques Roadshow with a family heirloom. That's no way to talk about Dorian the dirty cat. But to her horror, she discovers that that what she thought was a Russian Empire vase is in fact a mid-20th century Hackney Market fake. That's followed at 10 o'clock by The Late Show. Now, there's a slight change from Warnicki's usual satire and sketch comedy from Melbourne's DGen. He adds one of the ABC's most consistent ratings performers. There you go, it's consistent.
Consistent isn't a compliment.
Yeah, I mean,
sort of
one viewer a week is consistent.
Yeah. Sounds like it's adequate.
It's reliable.
He really doesn't want to say anything. He really doesn't want to say anything nice about The Late Show, does he? Because it's, it's not his thing. This has been well established in the first series, and yet it's massively popular, so he can't slag it off or he'll look ridiculous.
I think this is the most conciliatory he's going to get.
Well, that's the thing with these sort of TV critics. The Late Show will finish at some point, and Warnocky will continue and will just keep going, oh, yes, failed ABC attempt at satire, and just keep driving that home. And, a decade or so later, his view will be the received view, except for the fact that, from this period on, people were able to watch TV shows themselves again. They were, out on VHS. It wasn't just some old guy who remembered the show telling you what it was like.
Pretty much.
Then after The Late Show, we've got Order in the House, The Week in Federal Parliament. Then at midnight, we've got Smith and Jones. You might remember that this was a lead-in for the first 7 episodes of The Late Show in season 1. So as far as I can tell, this is a repeat of that run. Then at 12:30, ATVI News, and at 1 a.m, Rage with guest programmers Tex Perkins and Ken Gormley of The Cruel Sea. All right, let's get stuck into this episode.
Sweet. Thank you very much, Daniel. And now it is time to review, dissect, and completely dismember this episode of The Late Show, Season 2, Episode 16, broadcast Saturday, October 2nd, 1993. And due to ABC cutbacks, the cast of The Late Show will be shaking up with various personalities in Sydney because it is a Sydney show to celebrate Sydney winning the 2000 Olympics. Yay! What great hype. And so we have the following shacked up with various Sydney personalities. Jane and Judith with darling Jeannie Little. Jason with Jeff Harvey, playing all the recognisable TV tunes that he's basically been a part of.
Yeah, the theme to the Sullivans and then the theme to the Sullivans in a different key.
Tommy G with Glenn A. Baker. Man, if only he really sat there and listened to Inagata Davida, the 17-minute version. Fantastic. Tony shaking up with Mr. Ian Maurice.
The bear.
That's great, Ian. Look, I've got to go. This has been fascinating, but I'm really sorry you didn't get the role of Barney Rubble in the Flintstones movie.
I've got to go. I played this game. This game here was 1974.
Really? That's my
Oh, that is so spot on by Tony.
Yeah, all right.
If there's anyone less interested in rugby, which is presumably why he got paired with him.
Mick is with Money's Paul Clitheroe, and also Mick shows that he's, a bit strapped for cash to a point.
and that apparently he only drinks a little, which is met with much laughter from the audience.
Yeah. Santa is with Les Murray. Also, Rob is with Don Burke. Yep.
And moving on.
Yep, moving on. And you have, as the driver, James Morrison.
That's not James Morrison?
Yeah, I have the answer here. It's in the TV Week article from the 23rd of October, 1993. It is ABC Supremo David Hill driving the bus for the opening.
I'm completely wrong.
Yeah.
That's right, David Hill.
Yeah, he was the managing director of the ABC from 1987 to 1995.
I don't know why I put James Morrison, and I didn't bother checking the credits.
I will admit that is quite a good doppelganger.
Yeah, thank you.
Quite honest.
See, please, because I'm thinking, well, that kind of makes sense with all the different personalities.
Yeah, well, it's a lot funnier and sort of helps make up the joke where they're bagging ABC management just before they reveal David.
Well, they'll be on Backchat.
You forgot to mention a slightly interesting part of the Jeannie Little bit where she's banging on about Glad bags. And
this was her thing.
Yeah,
she used to
famous for wearing
go
those.
on.
Mike Wall's show and actually make these elaborate costumes. She lived in Paddington, which is where my parents used to have a shop there. So she used to be a frequent visitor there. I remember getting her autograph one day, but she was just like that in real life, really real larger-than-life character.
I remember.
Did she literally go around dressed in Glad bags? Because this was, she would go on, GMA and various shows like that, spruiking Glad bags and sometimes wearing them as dresses.
Yeah, I think for practical reasons she wasn't wearing them at the time, but certainly she would go out in some eye-catching costume. And I have a minor story about Jeff Harvey, because back in 1986, my parents and I were on a day cruise to the Great Barrier Reef, and he was on the cruise. and we had the video recorder guy was just recording, and he was just drinking a lot. They were all singing these bawdy songs with the ladies, and the cameraman was zooming in on their various faces and other bits, and it was really interesting just to see them all kind of getting a little bit tipsy. Also on the cruise was the Good Morning Australia astrologist Karen Morgold and her family, which was another blast from the past. So those are my minor. I don't have any other stories about anyone else on that sketch there. Thank goodness.
Now, also, watching this sketch as it progresses, we've lost a few of them, haven't we? Because we lost Ginny Little. She died in 2010. Jeff Harvey died in 2019. Les Murray died in 2017. Don Burke was cancelled in 2017. We've lost quite a lot of them, really. Thankfully, still with us at the time of recording. Glenn A. Baker, Paul Clitheroe, Ian Morrison, David Hill.
Yeah, and James Morrison impersonated David Hill.
James Morrison is also alive as well, because I went to a Christmas concert of his last year. He's exceptional.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I was really surprised to see how young Glenn A. Baker looked, because I know he was doing stuff with the D generation in the past, but in my head he's always been this bald, grey-haired, very sort of, not wrinkled, but, an old guy. And seeing him there, it's like, oh, he always looked like that, but he looks a lot younger than that. Whereas Paul Clitheroe just I have no idea how he looks now, but Paul Clitheroe that's what he looks like.
Yeah, there are just some people that look a particular age, no matter how old they are.
Tony Martin, basically. Although, having said that, if you look at a photo of Tony now versus how he looked then, there clearly has been a change. It's just that he hasn't changed his haircut or his glasses, really, and he's still skinny.
I spent a large chunk of this staring at Tony's hairline because it was really thick and black and vampiric. And I was just kind of I guess I haven't seen young footage of him for a while, whereas, he's always sort of popping up still. But yeah, it really, I don't know, stood out. I'll be discussing that in my podcast, Tony Martin's hair, coming up later this year.
I can't wait for that. How many episodes is it? 20?
We've booked in for 60, but, we're willing to drag it out.
And you're more than welcome to come on this show and plug that too, so to speak.
Promote it, yeah.
Cross-promote.
Yes.
Do a PowerPoint presentation about the different hairline and, yeah.
It's only one thing that concerns him, and that's hair loss. So now we have the opening titles and the opening remarks as well, where we're in Sydney again, and this time the stage is all set up with a fancy painting, which will be revealed later on who's done it, but it's very 90s. And we have Tony and Mick get a big Sydney welcome with a ticket tape parade as well.
And also because security didn't stop them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened. It happened on the 1st of October 1993, so that was the day before the actual show was broadcast, and that was a ticker tape parade just to thank all of the officials and the other Olympic athletes that helped with the Sydney bid. So they were genuinely walking down there. I believe they were in front of the Metropolitan Hotel, and I think they were actually did something in conjunction with the people in that building who had a nice sign welcoming the late show.
Other than that, they were promoting us, like Sydney celebrities being on the show, like the driver who blew .45. Wow.
Definitely over in the game of over or under.
Yeah.
I mean, that's legally dead, isn't it? 0.45.
Say, he wouldn't be one that's still with us now.
No. But then it goes a little bit dark. So there's scrutiny on the 1993 Grafton siege that happened in March, saying that police interfered with a current affair.
Oh yes, so infamous, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the basic thing was that there were these 3 guys who went on this rampage and they ended up they killed 5 people and they kidnapped 4 children, and they were in this, they basically the hostages they kept in a farmhouse in Kangai near Grafton, and they were there for several days. And what was controversial about this from the media point of view was that Mike Willesee and Mike Munro were criticised for telephoning the farmhouse and basically blocking the line so that the police couldn't call in and try and get them to, come out, basically. And Mike Munro also landed a helicopter near the homestead. So, it was very poor behaviour from the media, who were basically blocking the police's attempts to sort of negotiate with them.
Here's the audio from A Current Affair. Willisey kind of backing himself, and then the actual bit. So maybe a bit disturbing, but this was from March 1993.
2 gunmen in custody, another dead after shooting himself at a farmhouse in northern New South Wales. It was the end of a 3-day rampage across 2 states in which 4 people were murdered and 4 children were held during the ordeal. Leonard, could I talk with the children?
Yes, Trevor. Trevor, mate. Hello?
Yeah.
Here he is, it's Trevor.
Thanks, Leonard.
We're safe.
Trevor?
Yeah.
I want to know how you are.
We're safe.
You sure you're safe?
Yes.
Now, I play that because a year later it was satirised on Frontline.
Yeah.
The episode titled The Siege.
Hello, Amy. My name's Mike Moore. Do you know who I am?
No.
Oh, Amy, are you afraid?
No.
Have you enjoyed this adventure?
Yes.
Is Daddy there?
Guns.
And is he pointing the gun at you?
No.
You put Daddy back on the line, Amy.
This must have really struck a chord with them. Really, really stuck in their minds for them to mine it for parody.
Well, I will tweet it out later on after this episode is released, but there is an interview that Tom Gleisner did on TV, and he's having a chat to James Valentine about this.
Well, it was a massive deal at the time, and I think the Australian media, we weren't sort of used to that kind of thing. I mean, now A Current Affair is pretty much, it is what it is. But back then, A Current Affair was a serious news program. All the news programs were serious shows. And to have a host ringing up a siege to, kind of get himself in as part of the story was a real surprise. It wasn't a thing that generally happened a lot in Australia.
No.
It was a real crossing the line, really.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
People were really surprised by it. I mean, that's why this is a police report into a siege that happened, 6 months earlier. Normally that wouldn't rate a mention in the news, or it'd just be a passing thing. But this was such a big deal that people were still, 6 months later going, what was going on? How could that sort of thing happen?
Mm.
So other than that, Elle Macpherson in the country to film a bunch of KFC commercials. Here's a snippet.
I don't have to step out of myself when I'm on camera.
Oh, sorry, wrong one. Here's the commercial.
Sorry, I better go. I gotta go. Got friends over tonight.
A tender roast meal, please.
You can eat a normal barbecue chicken anywhere, but the juiciest, most succulent chicken is KFC's tender roast.
Thank you. It's the best barbecue chicken in town.
Try KFC's new tender roast chicken. The secret's the marinated magic.
I like it like that.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that product didn't last very long, did it? I mean, I couldn't have... I don't remember these ads. I couldn't have imagined Elle Macpherson ever eating KFC, proper KFC, but obviously they were trying to go for something a bit healthier, and it didn't work for them.
Well, that was when they rebranded from Kentucky Fried Chicken to KFC.
Yeah.
Which led to a number of jokes I won't make. But yeah, it's very much sort of like, oh, KFC, we're going up market and we're not, just the regular sort of chicken dipped in salt that you remember. And I think after a while they just went, oh, look, people just like the regular stuff. Let's go back to, get stuck in at the kernels.
Nowadays, KFC are really leaning into that whole unhealthy,
finger licking good. I remember as a child when they were finger licking good, my grandmother going, this is disgusting, finger licking, and then all of this, I like it like that, and all this wishy-washy stuff, and then it's, let's get back to this deep-fried stuff.
Yeah, look on the fried side of life is one that they've been using recently. So, healthy, who cares?
And also they're looking at the danger of breast implants as well, especially the one model that explodes like an airbag. So, yeah.
I remember it was around that time there was some talk show in America where the people had quite large bras, And I can't remember. Does anyone remember there was a show that was on around that time? Yeah, and I remember it was given kind of prime time status because it was such a huge deal to talk about it, and I thought that might be related to that joke.
It sounds a bit more Jerry Springer-like, but I don't think he was really kicking around at that time.
It was more or less Donahue or Ricky Lake or Sally Jesse Raphael.
Yeah, Sally Jesse Raphael, yeah.
And now...
You know who at the you-know-what!
The news desk of Tommy G. That's from this episode, by the way. So we're just retiring Judith for that one for a little while. Where shall we start? There's a fair bit going on in this one. Standoff in Russia. It's more visual than anything, except for the whole thing where Boris Yeltsin clasp to power is falling apart. And then you have the rebel MPs doing karaoke and playing Murder in the Dark. And the leader, Alexander
Come on.
Okay. Rutskoy. Alexander Rutskoy.
Very good.
Hooray! Yay for me.
Job on SBS for you.
So, his position is in jeopardy as tapes emerge that he once starred in Russia's own comrade, Barjarsky.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. The coroner has hands down his findings about the siege. The media was scrutinised for tying up the phone lines. Fingers were pointed at Willisey, Mike Munro, and of course...
Hi, it's John Blackman from Telecom Mobile.
John Blackman joke number 9. So China's failed Olympic delegation arrives in Beijing only to be whisked away for government reception, unquote. Yeah.
Still topical.
Isn't it what? Celebrations all around with the Brisbane Broncos arriving back in Queensland after the NRL Grand Final with a glorious chant. Yeah, and John Fay arriving back in Sydney after Olympic bid win. I couldn't pass that up. But then John Fay's been accused of hijacking the games, and so he's in studio. And Tommy G basically quizzes him.
Well, you had that running with Bruce Baird. Let's perhaps clear this up. Who will be the minister in charge of the Olympics?
I will.
Right. Okay.
I'll just take charge.
All right then. Okay. Well, who will actually be organising the games?
I will. Rod McGeoch will take a side step.
Who will be reading the Olympic oath?
I'll give it a bash.
Who would, say, be carrying the Olympic torch? Right. What about the 100 metres? Can we take a start, eh?
I'll give it the start.
Starting
I'd like to have a go at the bang.
Right.
And then I'll run around and join up.
I just love it.
I'll give it a bash. That's such an Aussie line.
Yeah.
I can just imagine him just doing the starting pistol and then running. Just imagine him.
Yeah, I think this is a ripper impression. I think it's all in the tongue. He sort of sticks the tongue out a little bit.
The tongue and the pauses.
Again, it's the notes he doesn't play.
Yeah.
It's the breathlessness of the voice as well that he manages to get, which, very, very good.
And then Faye presents Tommy G with a Sydney 2000 It's Mine t-shirt.
Oh, you forgot John Fay from Telecom Mobile Net.
Oh, that's it. In environmental news, loggers and greenies are coming to blows, and who will come out on top? John Fay, he will. But footage has been released of the clashes, as well as the footage captured by Funniest Home Videos, which has got boing sound effects and so forth. So, yeah, with that one, also in studio, we have the young girl who won everyone's hearts, our littlest ambassador, the one who did the big speech to every person in the world, and that is Kim's friend, Tanya Blanco.
Yeah, I don't know her personally, I have to admit, but if you do look her up on Google, you pretty much get a video clip that I posted many years ago. As I mentioned in the last episode, she ended up going to my high school in 1994.
Attention, St. George Girls High School! Year 12 are giving you your very own military coup. In the name of the Banana Republic, we have taken the teachers hostage. Also, we have captured St. George's International Olympic delegate, Tanya Blanco. Everybody, we'd like you down by the pool now. Rebellion will be severely prosecuted by us. And we don't have water pistols, we have real guns. Year 12 would just like to say, welcome to the jungle.
Welcome to the jungle. The Grafton Siege has nothing on that high school coup, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we'd thought of having a military coup on our muck-up day.
Yeah, this was just the regular swimming carnival, so it wasn't even a muck-up day.
Okay.
And I think in this day and age...
What did you do on muck-up day? You've already done the military coup.
You peaked. Exactly. In this day and age, you would not be able to get away with this.
Probably the purge is what you would have done.
Oh, yes. That's
muck-up
the
day.
logical, yes.
Is that why we haven't heard from Tanya for a while? Anyway, so it turns out, I'm sure that the principal and Tanya had prior knowledge of this in real life. I hate to spoil it for you. It probably just wasn't some spontaneous kidnapping. But the video's all there on YouTube, and they basically just spray with some water pistols, and everyone was like, ha-ha.
The swimming carnival, that whole audio bit, that wasn't her talking. That was a school friend.
Yeah, that was someone else in our year who was making the announcement, and everyone was just paying attention at the time. It just came over on the loudspeaker, and I had my video camera at the ready because no one else had social media back then. I was lucky enough to have a camcorder and managed to just record the moment. And I got an email back in 2007, which was still in my archives, from someone saying, my cousin was at the infamous Tanya Blanco kidnapping incident. So word, like, this is like 14 years after the event, people are still talking about it, and someone was actually emailing me to say that their cousin was there on the day. So if anyone else was at this event and remembers it, let us know.
I actually tried to track down Tanya Blanco, but she's very hard to find. This is what Tanya sounded like. This is the original speech that she did.
Mr. President, members, my name is Tanya Blanco. You may be asking why an 11-year-old girl is speaking to you today. Well, the reason is that I have a very important message for all of you from the children of Sydney and Australia. Thanks to the Sydney 2000 bid and your visits to our schools, children like me now know a lot more about the Olympic movement. 3 years ago, my school friends and I thought that the Olympics were only about sport. Of course, I won't be young in the year 2000. I'll be 18. But I'm already a volunteer for the Sydney Games, and so is every single one of my friends. Like them, I'll do anything just to be a part of the Olympics.
So you heard, that's Tanya. Now this is Jane doing Tanya.
Thank you. My name is Tanya Blanco. You might be wondering why an 11-year-old girl with slightly overdeveloped breasts is speaking to you all tonight.
That's on the Best Bits DVD.
Yeah, it's kind of note for note there, isn't it, really?
It is. She got the tone right.
The punchline of it, which is Robbers John Fahey sticking his head in again, which seems to make Jane corpse a little. So I don't know if she was expecting Rob to butt in or not. What do you reckon?
I think it was she wasn't aware. She knew something was happening but didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, the next sketch is a produced sketch, and that is the famous Gillette 3000 ad.
The first blade distracts the hair.
And so forth. So, because that one is a very, very popular one. The one with the 20 blade razor or whatever it is.
16 blades and a record 75 lubricating strips. Because you have to remember, I think it was only the most number of razors you could get at the time would have been 2, maybe 3, I think. Whereas
they were really banging on about it, weren't they? You get more than one blade, and this was a big thing in the 90s. And these days, what is it? Standard is like 5 or something?
Yeah.
5 and then a 6th one if you flip it over.
What?
Yeah. Honestly.
For line trimming.
Yeah. For the slight details.
For the edges, to really make yourself get that Craig David kind of look.
There we go, yeah. In certain areas.
There's a current reference.
Yep.
So, I mean, the thing is that the more blades you get, the crappier the blades are. Like, when it was one blade, the blade would cut. Now when it's 5, you're kind of hacking away at the side of your face, going back and forth and back and forth. to get it remotely sort of clean shaven.
Then there's also the lady shave as well, same product with a feminine voiceover.
Yeah, I do kind of like the subtle point made with that joke there, because especially nowadays, there's virtually the same product, but it's pink. And usually more expensive than men's versions of razors.
Yeah, it costs more for some reason. That pink dye in the plastic costs,
Yeah, it's weird.
A whole lot more. It's very and also you get less blades. You get, not generally speaking, you get 2 or 3 in a lady shave.
But you can tell throughout Tony doing all this voiceover that he's really enjoying assuming the thinking about carpet style voiceover. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one that wrote this as well, considering how much voiceover he's got to get. I also love that second last line. And the 16th blade, well, that little lavender was, well, it's just along for the ride.
Now it's a musical Pistake, and we have Judith introducing Madonna, Rain, which the parody is... and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, she starts off by introducing Madonna as the female Cliff Richard, which is quite a nice gag. And then we get into the parody, which is very, very similar to Rain, the video clip for Rain. But you do get to see a bit of blackface, a bit of brownface work, because obviously in the original Madonna's kissing men of different races and so forth. And just to balance things out, there's a Nazi as well. So, They're really, really pushing the boat in terms of the types of men that Madonna's kissing there.
But I did try and reach out to the Madonna, but for the podcast.
Could you get Ken Bruce's sister Madonna instead?
When I tried to reach out to Ken Bruce's Madonna, all I got was a Madonna, baby, what are you doing? So, yeah.
Ah, well.
Anyway, time for street interviews, and Mick sets up the fact that himself and Tony hit the streets of Sydney asking the general public what they thought about the Sydney Olympic bid win. Now, this is a really cool part because some of us are from Sydney on this podcast, finally, so that we can...
finally we can talk about areas that we know of.
Exactly. And what they did, the 2 spots that I noticed, there were 3, but I wasn't sure of the third one. But they hit up Darling Harbour, which is extremely iconic, especially Harbourside. And then the other spot was in Marrickville Road in Marrickville, which is so bizarre because travelling from Darling Harbour to Marrickville is not really a 5-minute walk down the road. It is roughly a 20-minute trek in good traffic. So that's a tall effort just to go and do some vox pops down Marrickville Road.
Because Darling Harbour is quite near Ultimo, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it would have been a relatively quick journey over to Darling Harbour from Ultimo, where they would have been based for this week. So why go to Marrickville?
Yeah, where they were standing was right near the Sydney Convention Exhibition Centre. So that gives you an idea.
You can see the monorail in the background.
About Sydney, but just as a guess, Marrickville looked like the Sydney equivalent of the various sort of increasingly dubious and run-down shopping strips that they would visit in Melbourne looking to find the most unhinged nutbags they could talk to. So,
yeah.
And didn't they succeed?
I worked in that street. That was one of my first major jobs, working in an electronics store that is now defunct. It was at 199 Marrickville Road. Boy, did it scare the crap out of me. Because I had to travel all the way from southwest Sydney, even though that's a bit of a, depending on where you are, a bit of a rough area. But where my work was a smack bang in between Sydenham Station and Marrickville Station. So no matter which train station I got off, I always had the same distance walking there. And where they did some of the vox pops was across the road and only a couple of shops up.
Yeah, and that shop is now, well, it was a shoe shop after electronic shop, and now it's for lease. So if anyone wants to have a, they should have put in the advertising material. This is opposite the area where Mick and Tony did their interviews.
Yeah, and, seen on the Late Show.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I work quite close to there nowadays, and I walked down that street last week just to see how it changed, and it's a much more gentrified area. There's a lot of trendy kind of little mini wine bars and and things like that there now. So it has changed, but there are definitely still some discount stores and things on the Strip, and it's op shops and the like. And the dentist that Mick and Tony are standing in front of is still there. It's still got the same sign. It's still got the same old phone number without the 8 digits as well. So some things never change.
Did you see the pink whale car?
Oh yes, the pink whale is no longer there. So the pink whale is what they refer to when they talk about how they need good transport for the Olympics, and they talk about the famous bus trip to Bowral. So
here's a few iconic moments from this Vox Pop. So I've only done a select couple of them, but here we go.
And you heard the news?
Yes.
What did you do?
Everything, the best. And I got a nice cup of tea with toast.
A cup of tea and toast. I heard you ran around the house naked with your underpants on your head.
That's the rumour
going round town.
Nothing. You done it.
In fact, I reckon instead of handing out gold medals, they should hand out those caps at the Sydney Olympics.
Yeah, for Sydney Olympics.
I'd be running fast. Got to get that cap.
Get it quick.
Got to get that cap.
Good old hat guy. And also,
what do you think will be the biggest problem Sydney will have to overcome?
Well, we discussed that yesterday. I was on a bus trip to Bowral, and the first thing we decided was we need good transport to the places of performance.
And I've heard most of the big Olympic decisions have been made on the bus trip to Bowral.
Hashtag bus trip to Bowral.
Oh yes, and the Redbubble store.
Yep, buy it on the Redbubble store. Yep. And also,
the first thing they're going to build, is it going to be a 1,000-bed hospital?
I don't think so. I don't think that's one of the events this year, is it, Mick?
AIDS and diseases people are going to leave behind.
Right. The athletes?
Yes, and everybody, all the relations they bring with them.
Do you think they're not going to be very clean? Well, they'll have one of those little pools like they have at the swimming bars where you have to walk through. They'll have that at the airport, won't they? Spray on the plane too. Thanks very much, Senator Bronwyn Bishop.
That lady, I swear to God, that lady was more or less
a product of its time.
She's very contemporary, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say.
She's the sort of person who'd be running for the Senate at the moment, wouldn't she? You know, sort of Australians against immigration, or some kind of nut jar sort of party should be setting up, or maybe a One Nation candidate or something. I mean, she'd have her own, like, you know, YouTube channel where she'd be constantly spouting off against immigrants or whatever. She's sadly very, very contemporary.
Yeah, and the most well-known one is, as Kim was describing about the dental surgery, was this gentleman.
We need a song, you know, like the Spain, they had the Amigos thing. What do you reckon would be a good one for Sydney?
A good one for Sydney?
You strike me as a bit of a Blakeney Twins man.
No, I think some good old... I don't know, I think we should go for something different, like...
Jump in my car.
Yeah. Jump in my car. That'll become the new theme track for the Olympics.
Yeah, sure.
I like that.
Well, shut up in your face.
No, not shut up in my face. I mean, it's really good that you're in Marrickville and that, because every day we just walk up and down, same things happening, same people. It's really exciting.
So today's a bit of a treat then?
It is, you know.
Well, having a couple of bums with a microphone pestering you in the street, the highlight of the civic year, is it?
It's a bit of a problem, isn't it?
Well, I have to concur with this gentleman here, because it would have been definitely the highlight of the week. I know my friend Connie, who actually lived in Marrickville at the time, was so annoyed that she was not there on that day.
But yeah, that guy's just loving it, I got to say. And yeah, speaking of a product of its time, Jump in My Car, that's a very product of its time song when you think about it nowadays.
Yeah.
But I did reach out to Tom Panos, who is that person, very well-known real estate entrepreneur, auctioneer. Yeah. That's it, yeah, and just a great spokesperson, MC, and just a great personality. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it to this current recording, but we have organised to have a chat to him, hopefully before the next episode. So stay tuned for his thoughts on being immortalised on The Late Show for that moment. And trust me, I've got a couple of questions to ask him. So I am really looking forward to chatting to Tom about that, and hopefully I can share it with everyone when it happens. So stay tuned for that.
Can I talk about the whale?
Oh, tell us about the whale.
All right.
The whale of a tale.
So there's a bit in the bus trip to Mural where they talk about requiring good transport links to the Olympics, and they're like this one, for example, and then they cut to this pink whale that's on top of a car. And that was a quite a famous whale that was always hanging around Marrickville. It actually was a representative of the whale car wash, which happened, which was a long time ago, and it was basically. I believe that some of the former directors of the whale car wash may have faced some charges, and the whole business collapsed sometime in the 80s or 90s. And unfortunately, the whale got trashed sometime later. It was painted grey and then graffitied on. My sources tell me it's a Datsun 180B. So any car nerds, that's what it is.
There's a few other great moments in it, like the Asian man in the green jacket, who was purely there so that Tony can ask him, do you know that you've got Graham in the Colonel's jacket? There's also the people doing impersonations of the John Fahey moment, expertly done by a couple of guys in business suits as well. I think it was spot on.
And what about the guy with a broken leg?
That's when you take your John Fahey impression too far. There's also the young kid in Marrickville who's wearing a T-shirt that says helmet. And they say, what are you going to be doing in the year 2000? And then he sort of pauses and then Tony jumps in with going through puberty. Right, or maybe it was Mick. I can't remember. Anyway, it's funny.
Wasn't it him also, Richie Cunningham on crack?
Yeah, he's Richie Cunningham on crack because he does a John Fahey impression.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
And there's also the one guy as well where they do actually quiz him about a certain character on the show.
What about The Late Show? Have you ever seen that?
The Late Show?
Yeah, it's on Saturday night.
No, I don't wait up for that.
Have you ever heard of bar jars?
Bar jars. No, you got me there. Bar jars. Is that a trick question? That's a trick word, is it?
No, it's a very real question.
Bar jars.
A mate of mine, you remember the time the Coca-Cola were doing those marketing things where you could get your name printed on the can?
Oh, yes, very popular.
Yeah, he managed to convince someone to print bar jars on the can.
No, but hang on, the two separate words, BAR space JARS?
No, it was a full word joined together, but he pronounced it as Bar Gears, saying it's the surname of a friend of his, Bar Gears.
So hang on, like bar jars without the E on the end.
No, but you pronounce it with the, kind of like a French type thing, so Bar Gears, BARGEARSE. Bar
kind
Gears.
Of like Mrs. Bouquet.
Yeah, kind of like Bucket Bouquet.
You laugh at this, right? But I still in fact have my Bar Jars T-shirt, and I used to wear it around mid-90s. And people who didn't know what it was, they would think, "Oh, how do you pronounce that?" And they would say something like Bar Gears, and it wouldn't occur to them that it was arse. Because, like we were talking about, this wasn't a swear word, also this wasn't a slang term in Adelaide at all. You only knew about it if you'd watched The Late Show, whereas, calling a fat person bar jars was obviously a thing in Victoria, So no one in South Australia knew what it was unless they'd watched The Late Show. So they'd just go, what is this? What is this T-shirt you're wearing? It's baffling to people.
Whereas in Victoria, we were just calling each other bar jars 24/7.
Yeah, even people who weren't fat were probably copying it.
Baby's first words, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't it this sort of weird linguistic Barassi line kind of thing by the sounds of it?
After Street Talk, we're back on stage, and it's the crew members coming out on stage from Biosphere 2. And now this is based on what was going on at the time. There was Biosphere 2 going on in the US, and the people... It
wasn't based on the Pauly Shore movie?
No, that was Biodome a couple of years later. Come on, that's a documentary. It's awesome.
I was going to say, that was the one that lifted the lid on what really happened.
Yeah, like you had Kylie Minogue in that. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the crew members of you know what? Sorry, here's the grab from the original Biosphere 2 people.
Hello there, my name is Sally Silverstone. I'm the co-captain of the Biosphere 2 crew and the Director of Agriculture and Food Systems. This is Abigail Alling, our Associate Director of Research, Mark Nelson, our Director of Environmental Applications, and Dr. Roy Walford, our Medical Officer. Also inside the Biosphere with us, we have Mark Van Thiel, the Director of Technical Systems for Biosphere 2, Jane Pointer, Field Agriculture Manager.
It just goes on and on.
Where are they now?
Yeah, there's a full document.
Have you got interviews with any of them?
They're still introducing themselves.
They're still going on, so we'll come back to them a bit later on.
Well, they're still going on today. If you
The
whole thing, from what I remember, was very scientifically dubious. It was like a good stunt, but you weren't learning anything from it. And it's not like, oh, we did a biodome, now we can all go to Mars and set one up there. It's like, no, well, you can, and then you'll be dead. It just didn't work.
It sounds kind of like the cryptocurrency of its day, you know. Everyone's going, yeah, this is like this cool, exciting technology. Basically, it's a scam.
The cool part about this Biosphere sketch is that while the whole team were part of it, they actually had reporters sorted and situated within the studio audience, having a chat or just interviewing the Biosphere people, such as Laurie Zion.
2 years under a glass dome, it's certainly great to be back, and we're happy to field any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Over there, please.
Laurie Zion, Triple J.
Are you still at Triple J, Laurie?
Good. I had a question. Were you totally isolated within the dome?
For the entire 2-year period, only two things managed to penetrate the glass dome: a small amount of carbon dioxide and an Amway representative. That was.
I picked up some washing powder. It was really good. We heard the Biosphere's airlock was open 27 times.
Yes. Yeah, well...
Hang on. He's overacting.
Yeah, Lawrence. The first time was for an emergency. The other 26 involved the delivery of pizza.
So at the time of this recording of episode, Laurie and I I was going to have a chat with Laurie, I should say, but we just couldn't get synced up in time. So... Again, kind of like Tom Panos, he will feature, hopefully, in the next episode of the Champagne Comedy Podcast. So, big thanks in advance, Laura, for agreeing to having a future chat. Yeah.
I do like the little, you're still working at Triple J, are you? Because I'm pretty sure he was
ABC.
Moving on / maybe aging out of Triple J and moving across to Radio National, I think, at the time.
Yeah. Oh, he was still on Triple J until at least 96 doing Creatures of the Spotlight, possibly even a bit longer than that, but certainly mid-90s he was still there.
Yeah.
And he's also got another kind of connection to the DGen because he wrote the foreword that you'll find in the... there was, because it's probably out of print now, a book of Frontline scripts. Yeah. And he wrote a foreword about how the show came about. Again,
I'm holding my copy up.
Nelson holding it up.
And
here we go. Frontispiece, Laurie Zion.
Yeah. I've got no idea where my copy is, but I've got a copy as well.
No, not good enough, Daniel. Bring it up.
All I've got is a Joan Kerner frame poster and a bunch of DVDs.
Yeah,
there was a thing.
You win with that Chris Lilly single. In no way whatsoever.
There was a thing for a while though that Laurie Zion and the DGen worked not quite hand in glove, but Laurie Zion did quite a bit of stuff, not a lot of stuff, but he wrote articles and that about them in Melbourne for quite a while, and it was during a period where a lot of other people were either not getting access or not writing about the DGen. So he was sort of not their media liaison guy or anything formal, but he was the guy that you could go to if you wanted a story about the DGen, and he could probably get you access. And that went on for a fair while during the Frontline era, because I know they were a bit media shy. You know, when you've got guys like Warnicky around, you're probably not keen to chat to, random journos from the Age. But I think Laurie Zion was sort of seen as a bit of a safe pair of hands for them for a while.
Yeah, so you can. Well, I got my copy of that Frontline book at my Bookfest, Lifeline Bookfest. I still got the price tag on it, $2.50.
Used to see it everywhere in op shops. It was really common. I think like school kids for a while, because the Siege was part of like media classes. So I think a lot of school kids had it. So there are a lot of copies still around, and it's a good book.
Now, the other journalists in the meeting or in the audience, other than Laurie, was Annette Young from Sydney Morning Herald, Michael Idado from the Daily Telegraph, and also this guy,
Detective Sergeant Barr.
I don't think you're accredited, Detective Sergeant.
I'd just like to know why you bunch of mongrels keep taking the piss out of me.
I can't accept that. Next question.
Amanda Keller, Beyond 2000.
Amanda?
What did
Yes,
you do
Amanda.
for entertainment?
Well, it's very simple, Amanda. Most nights we'd watch telly or gather around the piano, wishing we'd brought along someone who actually played the piano.
It's fair fun.
Oh, have fun. You don't need to play a piano to have fun with it. I mean, we just...
Would you do it again?
This sketch? No. I don't think so.
I felt sorry for Amanda following Barjas after that.
Yeah, heartache to follow.
Yeah, in the TV Week article I have where they talk about the Sydney show, they quote Lucky Grills just saying how he just loves the Barjas treatment. He says, Barjas has become famous and it's rejuvenated my career. At least people are talking about me all over again, so I don't care what they say. Bluey's had a good run all over the world as it is, so why leave it sitting in a cupboard when it can be used?
Really good attitude to it.
Yep.
If you want a copy of Bluey, by all means, enter our Barjas competition. So, yeah, there you go.
Now, also, I just wanted to mention that there's a bit of a jab at Adelaide in this sketch. Talking about trying to get acclimatized to the biosphere. And sort of, considering that this is a Sydney show, I'm quite thankful that there doesn't seem to be any sort of jabs at Sydney. There doesn't seem to be any sort of jokes at the expense of the Sydney-Melbourne divide. I suppose, considering... Adelaide can sort of be in the middle, sort of absorbing the blows from both Sydney and Melbourne in this case.
Well, I either that or, Tommy G wrote that line because Tommy G loves an Adelaide joke. He did them all through the Late Show, even sort of continued to do it on the panel. He doesn't do very many on Have You Been Paying Attention, which is a shame because, I've always enjoyed Tommy G's Adelaide jokes.
I'm going to say it was Tommy G and the rest of Australia who loved those Adelaide jokes.
And they did end everything with Laurie as well.
Just one final question. What about interpersonal relationships?
This was a scientific experiment. There was no sexual relation. I take offence to that.
Now, I tweeted an image of Jane being pregnant. With that image to Jane ages ago, and she actually goes, I don't even remember doing that sketch. Don't know if that's trying to just avoid responsibility for how bad the sketch was, kind of, except for Barjas. But
it's an all right sketch. There
was good.
It's one of those sketches where it's basically just a bunch of sort of set up and punchline. It's not a coherent sketch. It's just a bunch of jokes kind of stitched together.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
Yeah.
They've done worse sketches of that type.
Yes.
I think it might have also been to try and big up the journalists because, certainly everyone apart from Amanda and Lucky, they're all media writers as well. So I've got a feeling it might have been a little bit of a sweetener to get them into the audience kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a good way to make sure that you don't get negative articles from them about their Sydney show by getting them involved in the show. It's a very, very clever technique, that.
Well, it was interesting that they never did that in Melbourne.
No.
Maybe Warnocky said no. He said no to being involved in a sketch, which is a shame.
Well, just thinking of the Melbourne equivalent at the time, if they were going, for the age and that, they probably knew they were best to steer clear they still have culture writers and that, but yeah, it's not like it was. There's not people that would be doing this, I'm the TV writer that is based in this city covering the television in this city. I think Michael Adato, I think, is still at the Age / Sydney Morning Herald /9, but I think he's based in Hollywood now and just kind of does interviews there.
Yeah, there used to be, I think just before the pandemic, the Age and Sydney Morning Herald did their own sort of TV podcast that Michael was part of. And I'm pretty sure he was doing it from LA.
We have everyone's favourite fat detective barge ass in the episode A Few Donuts More, which is adapted from the novel by E.M. Forster.
Yes, E.M. Forster there, the author of A Room with a View, Passage to India, Howard's End, and many other books, probably all filmed by Merchant Ivory.
and Tedious September.
Yes.
Oh, yes. How could I forget Tedious September? And also guest star Super Mario Barjas.
Yes. The chief of Pork Squad runs down the calculations on how many donuts Barjas has consumed.
Last night I had that one, where you're driving up a quiet country lane, minding your own business, when suddenly from out of the sky, donuts, hundreds of them. Delicious extra king-size donuts coated in rich dark chocolate raining down from the heavens. I'm being showered in them. It's pure bloody ecstasy. Then, bang, I crash into a 20-foot poly waffle.
It adds an extra layer when you have the audience reacting to it, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So after they start becoming self-aware...
You're a laughing stock. Apparently that mob on The Late Show have based an entire cereal around the size of your gut.
That's bullshit. They'd more likely have a go at your bald nut than my physique.
Steady on.
They better not be changing our voices.
They're probably overdubbing this scene right now, though.
If only we knew where they were.
Just the way that Barjar sort of looks up at the ceiling going, if only we knew where they were.
So Barjas has to lose the weight, and he tries it a la Rocky, and then ends up in hospital where people need to push a fat bastard up a corridor.
We've run some tests, Doctor. What do you make of this?
It's definitely a clipboard.
Thought so.
And what's he dreaming of? Donuts.
It's nice that they got Rob Stitch, the medico of mirth, to play the doctor there.
The role he was born to play.
But yeah, it's that Rob's line. It's just the standout line of the episode. But just considering all of the bonkers footage that they had access to, it's a really solid piss take. This particular episode, the chocolate donuts. The running in the ill-fitting blue tracksuit.
And the massive lamington he's eating right at the start of the sketch as well. Oh, God, that lamington looks good.
Well, I was going to ask if anyone had any idea where he was jogging, because Bluey was filmed in Melbourne, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not Albert Lake? Is it Albert Lake?
Oh, it could be. It looked a bit sort of industrial in the background, which made me think maybe not Albert Park Lake, but I couldn't think of where it was, and then I realised I'm the Melbourne expert for this.
Yeah,
episode.
you're the only one who can answer that.
So no. If anyone recognises it, call in. Yeah. But yeah, it's I don't know. I just couldn't think of a place in Melbourne that had that kind of lake.
There must be some park somewhere with an ornamental lake, because it does look a bit artificial, doesn't it? That lake.
I mean, it may very well have been Albert Park, but because I remember one episode of Bluey and Barjas, they've clearly filmed it in sort of the north of Melbourne. It's like, I think it's not Coburg Station, but it's on one of those lines. But I can't think of anywhere up around there. Unless, I couldn't think of a place. Where's Prue when you need her?
I know, right? So we're on stage, and Tony is basically doing a stand-up routine, talking about how travelling makes him nervous, and his abundance of electric timer switches.
Yeah, again, it's a pretty adequate bit of stand-up. Seems to kind of be there just to fill in a bit of time.
I did think watching this episode that it felt, I wouldn't say light, because, I mean, it goes the full length and there's always something going on, but it did kind of feel like, there was a few bits where they had, time fillers, because there's the stand-up bit that could have gone in any episode. And there's a bit later on where they're sort of on the couch talking, which goes on for a bit as well. And it did kind of feel like I wondered if the travelling to Sydney had sort of left them with a bit less time than usual to work up stuff.
I did enjoy the bit about the timer switch though on the light, because I come from a family where we had timer switches and we would have them on when we went away, and of course as you see in Home Alone, it is not a good deterrent for burglars at all. But I just remembered this one time that we went on holiday, and this was pretty soon after we'd got a video player, and video players were obviously very expensive when you could first buy them, and they were very a nice target for a burglar. So what my dad did is he unplugged the video player and put it under our sofa. And it was only once that had been done and the timer switch had been set that he felt safe to go on holiday. And these were the kind of crappy sort of measures that one took in the late 80s, early 90s to try and prevent burglary of one's electronic goods.
Oh. I guess your sofa had like a skirt to it, so you couldn't.
Yeah, it did. It did have a skirt to it because the assumption was that the burglars wouldn't be looking underneath for video players. They would assume the video player would be with the television.
Wow. You know what? I shouldn't really laugh at that
because write in if your dad did equally stupid things when you went on holiday.
I knew a friend from primary school whose family did that. So, because I remember...
Well, they would put electronics under the sofa.
Yeah. There was one stage that there was I won't mention a name, but they actually had a record player underneath. Just a turntable, yeah.
I'm just astonished you're talking about this as a thing that happens in the past, because I'll occasionally leave the house and the laptop is not coming with me, and that's not left on the desk. That's hidden somewhere in the house because, for all you know, some guy's going to come climbing through the window in the 1 hour I'm not home. So you've got to make it hard for them. You can't just leave, the valuables out in the open. No. I'm hiding stuff everywhere when I go out.
Oh well, there's a good tip for anyone planning to burgle Tony's house.
Yeah.
I didn't say where, you guys.
Yeah, you're from Sydney, aren't you, Tony? Yeah, you don't live in Victoria.
Nowhere near Victoria.
Yeah, it's toilet break time now, and it is Act 6. Todd Rickson and his very well-known, fancy gymnastic-inspired dancing routine. Now, I had to shorten this a lot because obviously his routine it's all music, kind of like Razia, but he's playing the song, or he's dancing to a Prince song. So to get around the smack bang copyright, this is all I've got.
That's it.
You've done it, have you? Oh, I think he's done a hamstring there. You all right? Never mind, mate. Well, I think we'll just... what do we do there? We'll just take a commercial break, I think, and we'll be back after that break. We'll explain what's happening, all right?
Straight at the action point.
Well, it is a very visual act, but there's a lot more descriptive clip I found on YouTube from one of those US when TV goes bad kind of shows, sort of in the vein of when things get knocked over, spill, or fall out of cupboards. They do use different music to get over having to pay Prince and the Revolution a bit of royalty money. But you also get a bit of added commentary from Potluck host Ernie Sigley and Todd Rickson itself. Have a listen to this.
Melbourne, Australia. It's a special live broadcast of Potluck, a talent contest for ordinary, everyday citizens, like Todd Rickson.
How dare you wear my old body? What's your name? Todd Rickson. Todd Rickson. How are you, Todd? Really good. And you're a dancer, obviously, are you? Sure. It's a pretty outfit, isn't it? Hey?
Potluck host Ernie Sigley believed he was in the presence of a rising star.
Lots of spangles and all that sort of. He was quite jazzed up, as we say, and I thought, well, he looks so good. He looks like another Gene Kelly. I thought he's going to be really good. Dancer Todd Rickson.
15 years of lessons and a flashy costume add up to this moment. He's hoping that this performance will be his big break. Todd rises to the occasion. He gyrates, kicks, and spins through his elaborate routine with energetic precision. Todd is about to attempt his signature move, the Rickson Sky Kick. But there's trouble. He tries desperately to catch up by snapping to the beat. Although his fingers say yes, His leg says no. The stage falls dark and silent. A slow-motion replay reveals that Todd injures himself during his explosive overhead kick. Then, his dynamic dance turns into a painful prance. Clearly in agony, the undaunted performer refuses to quit. But he can't find the rhythm. And the show can't go on.
You've done it, have you? Oh, I think he's done a hamstring there. You're all right? Never mind, mate. Well, I think we'll just take a commercial break, I think.
It was like 1,000 daggers going up my arm, up my leg. I was petrified, absolutely petrified, thinking that my dancing career was over. I was really embarrassed at the same time, so I knew that a lot of my friends were sitting there watching me.
It was quite an amazing moment on television. I mean, I'd hosted many television shows, and I'd never seen anything like this before. The boy was halfway through his routine, and then he just collapsed.
Remarkably, Todd's dancing days didn't end on potluck. After months of rehabilitation and years of soul-searching, he returns to the national spotlight to perform his routine on arena television. Wearing his trademark tights, Todd completes his number without incident.
Ladies and gentlemen, Todd Rickson! Congratulations. Thank you, have a seat.
Todd conquers his dancing demons, but he will never forget the night that a high kick led to the low point of his career.
I love how serious the US narrator
so
takes all of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like sort of, years later he performed it. Again, they say on arena television, but the arena channel even back then wasn't that special. And yeah, it was on some live show with a small audience hosted by Tony Squires. So in the YouTube footage, you get to see Tony Squires hand a bouquet of flowers to Todd. Who's in the original very low cut, flowy kind of lycra dress.
It's an extraordinary outfit, isn't it? I mean, first of all, it completely exposes his entire chest, which is very, very hairy in the style of Emmanuel Macron. And then he's got these kind of, sort of flared kind of black trousers, but it's all accentuated by a sort of gold sequined mankini type thing, which just to remind you which sex he is. So it's really quite a special outfit, and when he does that,
sorry, it's called the Todd piece, of course.
Of course, it's called the Todd piece, not a mankini. It's a very special outfit and a very special routine. But isn't it great to know that Todd came back and completed it?
But I love the fact that in that little doco bit, there was like a 2-minute explanation of, he has to get back in time, blah blah blah. And it was so long to describe it, and yet all we have is...
You've done it, have you? Oh, I think he's done a hamstring there.
10 seconds, not even. So, you buggered up, mate. Of course, there's always the judging period, and now we have a special judging moment. So Bernard King, who does his regular judging, but also he has a special guest, the other judge doing this as well, Ugly Dave Gray.
Todd, this isn't a score, this is a token number for the card and for all the gamblers at home. Australians are dedicated gamblers. Life be in it, Norm. Here's 20. When you come back recovered, we'll then totally reassess the work.
All right, okay, so that's 20. Dave?
I thought he was doing great after that, actually. I was ready to give him a real good score, but as Bernard said, just a score for the board.
Give him 59, because I've got 70.
No, I gave him 30 up there. I gave him 30.
If you add those two up, I guess it's unfair, because we've only been going by what Bernard has been scoring. So, Daniel, what have you counted?
Well, yeah, if we were to take Bernard King and Dave Gray's scores for a total of 50, that would technically put him in first place, 10 points in front of Piffy.
Wow, 10 points only.
Again, everybody else has been judged on Bernard's points alone. So even just on those 20 points from Bernard, that puts him equal 7th alongside the Spangles, who sang Venus back in episode 2.
He's got it.
Did you try and track down Todd for this?
I tried to, but with everything, it's always those fake profiles where it's just a screenshot of him pulling his hammy. And then there was a whole bunch of French stuff as well. So I just could not find him. His name is too common to be... His video, his actions are too viral, if that makes sense, to actually define. And his name is a bit too generic.
When you say that French stuff, is that a euphemism for something?
Oh, no. You look up Todd Rickson, dancer, or anything like that, choreographer or whatever, and then there's a whole bunch of French websites, like literal French, not any euphemism.
There's a Rickson's hairdressing near me, which has been going for ages. So whenever they said Todd Rickson, it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. And then it's like, no, wait, I'm thinking of something entirely different.
And when they do the haircuts, do they just fling up their leg right here?
A lot of scissor kicks.
Scissors kick, that's it.
Very good.
Yes.
At last.
Hooray! All right. So after the toilet break, we are on the couch, and Tony, Robin, Santo, and Jace are on the couch going through the letters explaining on how the audience got there tonight because they had to write in 25 words or less why they deserve tickets or send in a photo of themselves with a celebrity. Now, they did point out a couple of letters, one where someone had written in 459 words, which kind of missed the point. But then they went to Mr. Spurge of Cogra, and which a certain someone in the audience got really defensive.
Mr. Spurge of Cogra. Right, now that would be of the Cogra Spurges, right?
Just a minute. Don't start on Cogra. I live there.
Please, no more questions. But anyway, Mr. Smith.
This morning he was having a dream sequence. Here come the donuts,
And the thing is, that wasn't his own voice.
Yeah, and he was always living around. I mean, I live around there now. My school was in Cogra at the time, so we were all very excited to hear the suburb read out. And I think his fan club was based in Ramsgate, which is also very close to Cogra.
They also reached out and mentioned that Dave McGovern had written in and saying that he deserves tickets because he was the last non-Dado to win a Logie for most popular actor in a telemovie or miniseries. And that was at the 1991 Logies, which is true because Cameron Dado did win the Logie the following year for Golden Fiddles. Dave McGovern was in the audience and he is an actor, and this is what he won the Logie for. Remember Jackaroo?
Kind of.
The miniseries?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
Well, here's a refresher.
Half-caste Aboriginal falls in love with a white girl. Are you sure? The Outbacks made him tough.
Half-caste Jackaroo?
But her wealthy parents will see him destroyed.
Was he jumping straight out of your bed and into hers?
Through the pain of separation.
He's gone, Claire. Get that into your head.
Can their love survive?
You really think you can stop us?
Annie Jones, David McCubbin, Tina Bursell and Warren Mitchell in the Australian miniseries sensation. Jackaroo starts Sunday on 7.
That's what he won the Logie
Warren
for.
Mitchell, as in the British actor Warren Mitchell. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, Warren Mitchell, he was a bit like that other Miriam Margolyes in that would spend a lot of time between the UK and Australia.
Yeah.
Well, Cameron Daddo's...
I recognise him more from the Australian movie Crackers,
Yes.
more than anything else. But although I am aware that he was also Alf Garnett as well.
Well, now you know that he was in Jackaroo.
Well, Cameron Daddo was in a movie I saw just recently for work called How to Please a Woman, which is a comedy. I'll say comedy. Yeah. But it's not a failed comedy. It's more like a lightweight drama. It's not packed with jokes, but Cameron Daddo was in it in quite a serious dramatic role.
Oh, did it star his sister, Adriana Daddo?
She's dead now, I think, isn't she, Adriana?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Yes.
It stars Sally Phillips.
From Boytown.
Yes, another British actor. Yes.
And Ros Hammond is in it as well. So, yeah, it's out soon.
Well, check out Tony's review in anywhere that they would publish his
on
review.
The internet somewhere at some point.
So other photo submissions include shots of Bernard King on the Pot of Gold set. Not Pot of Gold because of the style of the score. Well, that's what Rob insists. Then you have Gary Sweet's ass at an ABC presentation thing. I guess that's to get to know the ABC personalities. Then you have Andrew Denton, who couldn't even crack a smile, Grant Dodwell, and Aussie Joe Bugner. So Jace also shows a clip from a viewer highlighting a blooper from Baywatch. This is where it gets extremely random, but yeah, when they do show it, it's someone had written in saying that in the background where David Charvette's running down the beach in slow-mo, in the background there's a kid who does a full...
Pulls down his pants and shows everybody his butt.
Does his Philip Brady impersonation.
He times it very well, actually, because you do actually see it because the camera is kind of going past a bunch of people who were sort of in front of him. So he could easily have done this move and been behind the person when the camera went past. But no, he just gets in a gap between two of these people and, yep, there's his ass.
Yep.
And fortunately did not get noticed, through countless editors, I would fathom.
No doubt. You simply YouTube Baywatch and bum. And you actually don't. You might have to clear your cache later. So Tony reads a letter from Shauna Crowley from New South Wales saying Andrew Denton has done acting before, making an appearance as a delivery man. No, not trying to steal Greg Fleet's thunder as delivery man number 2. But it was on A Country Practice, and they showed a clip. And they also give Andrew an honorary Logie for his acting, which he accepts via satellite.
He tells us all the cardboard box has taught me so much about acting, which is a nice line.
Yeah, I think it was via satellite just because, both Denton and Tony Martin can't be in the same room together. It's physically impossible.
Apart from that time when they were.
Santo recaps the letter from a previous episode where a viewer had asked how Rob, Santo and Tom met, which was on an episode of It's Academic, Black and White. And so Santo actually claims that he found another tape where they were on It's Academic again. And this time they show a clip with Judith, Jane, and the work experience kid Julie, who was in Champagne Comedy Podcast episode 35 and has the nameplate as well. So this is where the nameplate comes in. So this is It's Academic.
King Charles II between the years 1632 and 1649, except for 1642 when he abdicated the throne temporarily during the Roundhead Uprising.
Here's right, and that's your 10 and 200 points for something submitted.
By the way, Mr. Howard, I'm having your baby.
That's right, and 10 points for you.
I love, again, like concentrating on Julie, all of those reactions, especially to Jane's revelation, and even before that, the little kind of a smug face she has when
very good acting.
when Judith Lucy gets her question right.
Yeah, and also the guys as well, they do their usual things. No Tonga, though.
Who was the explorer who led an ill-fated attempt to cross Australia from east to west in 1848?
Peter Brocky, King of the Mountain.
No, I can't pass that. What would you belong to if you were training at West Point?
A Holden Precision Driving.
You'd be training at a casino.
The US Army Cadet Corps.
The whole sketch is on the best bits.
Again, it's that kind of writing backwards, trying to find something out of all of the questions asked by the original host.
I just love that the setup for it when Santo's trying to explain, Jace is cacking himself laughing because he knows what's coming up. So I don't know.
Yeah, the capital of Sweden is Volvo. That's what he knows is coming out.
It's time for a commercial, and this is, I guess, inspired by last week's appearance of the Suite being on Hey Hey It's Saturday, basically doing a tour, and that is the Old Fart Touring Company presents the Suite on tour, and they describe how old and fat they are, as well as a shonky lineup consisting of the original bass guitarist, the brother-in-law Alan, second cousin Joe, next-door neighbour Kevin, and a drunk Broncos supporter that they met at Brisbane Airport.
And yeah, for me, the only bit I like out of this sketch is the line, playing all their great songs, including Fox on the Run, and Ballroom Blitz.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy?
My name's Joe.
Mick?
We haven't got a Mick.
Broncos! All right, fellas, well, let's tour! Yeah!
That's an improvement by Santo since he did play the Hornpipe Classics doing Ballroom Blitz.
Yeah. I guess they already had the backing track, so they might as well do a full sketch where it's the Suite and at the same time do a sort of a swipe at all the various bands who were reforming. You know, there seemed to be a whole bunch of bands from the 70s or whatever who were reforming at that point, and
It was a real thing.
touring.
There was 3 or 4 versions of the Beach Boys going around for a while because the members wouldn't work together, but each one would go, well, I'm a Beach Boy, therefore my band is the Beach Boys. And there was a whole bunch of... It went on for quite a while. I think everyone's either made up or died, but for a stretch there was a period where you would have rival versions of classic bands sort of touring against each other.
And one would be the original version of the band, and the original Platters and the new Platters, and
wasn't there 2 versions of the Little River Band for a while?
that sort of thing is still ongoing. The Little River Band is still going on in the US, but I think none of the original members are part of it.
Yeah. That's correct. Yeah,
it's like a big legal stoush between Shorrock and
manager or something like that, or
yeah,
and because the original band members are called LRB, and then they had to change it again or whatever, and now they go by their surname.
The last I heard of it was that they were pretty pissed off that the new band gets lumped in with the original band on Spotify.
Time for Graham and the Colonel, and well, wasn't this a very interesting one where they just played havoc on the Sydney Olympics? So wearing Olympic ties made from huge plastic tubes that sat on top of the Opera House. And they're so long that Colonel has to use a hose reel to wrap it up.
I do enjoy the hose reel.
Yeah.
It's a good prop.
Nothing like a big prop.
Exactly.
Taxis in Sydney are slow, and because they had to share one with Dawn Fraser, and they're the open ones, they're basically talking about the ticker tape parade. But they do actually describe how the ticker tape is actually made.
You see, they shred worthless and obsolete government documents. So I'll go through it again. They shred...
Unpronounceable documents.
Documents. They shred worthless and obsolete documents.
Oh, right, yeah. And
for
this, yeah.
Well, you see, for instance, this is John Fay's commitment to the Paralympics.
Oh, of course. That's worthless. I can just imagine John Fay now going, oh, that wasn't fair.
Lovely bit of politics in there. And the Sydney crowd just went along with it.
There was also mention about the Mexican wave and how it's out and it's going to be the Fay wave. And every joke that didn't get a laugh was just put into the shredder.
Which is most of them.
Yeah.
It's the logical conclusion, really, because, Graham and the Colonel famous for chucking their scripts behind them when they don't work. Well, just shred them.
Yeah. And who's carrying the torch?
It won't be us, will it? Well, I don't think we'll be us.
To fill the viewers in, we were part of the relay of people who...
Oh, that's hilarious.
Ooh. We were part of the relay of people who were entrusted with carrying the Olympic torch to Melbourne in 1956.
They got mad with me, didn't they? Those
you put out the eternal flame.
Well, hang on, it was a day of total fire ban. I was allowed to put
it out. But you can't
just
might whack that in the old shredder as well.
I tell you what the problem is, Graham. My prop is better than your prop.
So who did have the better prop? I think Santo had the better prop there.
The Olympic flame burning in Sydney will be huge because of the giant fire starter cubes that they'll be using. Big giant prop. There's also the threatened black boycott of the games. So I'm guessing this is in regards to Indigenous or something like that, or...
I think there was something like that early on, and which is weird to hear about now, because now you sort of the Sydney Olympics, you think about the complete opposite way, but yeah, I think there was a bit at the time.
Okay. And Tony then intrudes, and guess who arrests Graham and the Colonel for just going on too long with some bad jokes?
This is them, officer. This is them. This way.
No.
Graham and the Colonel, they've been getting away with it for too long.
Come on.
Hang on. But those big props aren't mine.
There's another big prop.
It's the equivalent of ending the sketch with the men in white coats coming and taking people.
Hey, since Barjas is there, they might as well milk him for all they can. Now we're on stage and Judith explains where half the set has gone. So this is all about the whole set that's on display. And they cue footage of, it's a cheap joke, of a truck taking a hard corner and the set falling off the back of it. So, yeah.
That was another bit where I spent my time going, where in Melbourne was this? Is that the Westgate Bridge? I think it is the Westgate Bridge behind it, but that part of Melbourne has really changed. They've really developed it quite a lot, whereas back then it was sort of kind of swampy by the banks of the Yarra. Because you see a lot of, and this is getting a bit obscure, a lot of old McAuliffe sketches were filmed around sort of Spotswood, and that part of town. And yeah, I think it was that part of town, but
I remember McAuliffe doing his Billy Connolly impression there, like the Billy Connolly's World Tour of Australia, and he's going, the Westgate Bridge, it's fantastic.
And there's also that sketch, and I can't remember which show it was from, but Bob Franklin is living in a caravan, and it's under the Westgate Bridge. I can't remember what show it was from. It was a great sketch, but it was like Bob Franklin as creepy loner living in a caravan, but it's like, oh, it's under the Westgate Bridge. Whereas now all of that is totally fenced off because presumably they're worried you'd park an explosive truck under there or something. But back then you could just walk under it. It was just a bridge.
Well, wasn't it as well that's where they did a fair few shit-scared pyro stunts, sketches as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think, because that part I can remember. Yeah, it used to be the river crossing before my time, even before the bridge was built. There was like a punt that crossed the river there.
Oh.
And yeah, it was just like sort of wetlands, not much else around there, but it's all really changed now. It's much more developed.
There's another Melbourne cliche.
Exciting tours of Melbourne.
Yeah. Now, Judith then asks Jace what the Sydney mural painting is all about that they've had on set. And then Jace explains that Tom said it was all fine, and then it was revealed that Ken Doan had painted it.
That's a good get, isn't it, getting Ken Doan to, I don't know, presumably do it for not very much money.
It'd be worth a lot now, you'd reckon.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to it.
Yeah, I'm going to find out. I've got a contact whose wife works in Ken Doan's gallery, one of my work colleagues. So he was actually quite interested in participating in this episode, but they're really busy with a Ken Doan fashion show. Yeah, he's always busy in his gallery. He's also a keen archivist.
Just a nerdy little aside, I just noticed that when there was the footage of Ken Doan painting the set, you could see a bunch of other backdrops for various ABC shows, and the one that I could see was the afternoon show with Peter Ross.
Yes,
which was actually a program that I used to watch sometimes. It was Sunday afternoons on the ABC, and it would basically be just Peter Ross in the studio linking a whole bunch of arts documentaries and programs like discussion programs and stuff that went on for about 2 or 3 hours on Sunday afternoons.
Oh, that's really cool.
Well, let's hope this mural didn't go the way of the mural that was on Hey Hate Saturday. If anyone watched that special that we were just talking about, there's a scene where Plucker Duck just punches his fist through a Ken Doan mural. So let's hope that this one is intact somewhere.
Now we have the closing musical finale, and it is Mr. Talking Heads himself, David.
Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing under rock into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground.
Burn or boon. So I actually tried to reach out to David Boone a month ago to give that breathing space. No. So I got dattoed.
He was too busy on a plane drinking a lot of beer, I imagine.
That's it. He's lost his Dead Set legend status.
There is a quote in this TV Week article from David Boone where they refer to him in this sketch. They say that he signs a copy of his autobiography and leaves a copy for the Oz Brothers with this thought. A great show. Believe it or not, I try not to miss it, even get the brother-in-law to tape it whenever I'm not there. Just love the Oz Brothers. It's really good how they just love what they do with their characters.
So other than that, you have the closing credits. And now, was there any Easter eggs, Daniel?
Well, there's a long list of special guests in this one. So the special guests listed were Glenn A. Baker, David Boone, Don Burke, Paul Clitheroe, Andrew Denton, Ken Doan, Lucky Grills, Jeff Harvey, David Hill, Jimmy Little, Ian Morris, and Les Murray. And also a long list of thank yous to ABC News, City of Sydney, John Diedrich, Kent Forbes, JMP Films, they're the ones that make a country practice, the Metropolitan Hotel Sydney, misspelled there, the estate of the late Gerda Nicholson, the Seven Network, and Sturgitsa Zamagius. I don't know who he or she is. Or they are, I should say. in these politically correct times.
They do plug the tickets for next week if you want to be in the audience of the Late Show.
In Sydney, we didn't get to see that. But this was from Melbourne, and that was...
We didn't get it in Adelaide either, but on the VHS tape that I acquired from someone clearly from Melbourne, you can see them plugging the tickets for next week. And then they say, we're about to go out to King's Cross and do something degrading. So that's what they did after the Late Show. They went off and got extremely drunk, I imagine.
Back in the days when you could still do that in King's Cross.
Yeah. If you're wanting a jab at Sydney, I think that's the closest to it, really, and only Melbourne got it.
They would have hit the pub up in Marrickville, which was right near my old work.
Not the other one that was on fire the other week.
Well, it does wrap up The Late Show, Season 2, Episode 16, as well as Episode 36 of the Champagne Comedy Podcast. So please reach out to us, champagnelateshow@gmail.com. Get your barge ass entries in because you could win the Bluey box set thanks to mygeekculture.com.au. You could also win the Champagne Comedy DVD as well as, and unfortunately this is on a webcam, but trust me, we'll tweet out the picture of Joan Jett and the fishnets. It is not Joan Jett, but Joan Kerner.
It's signed by Joan Kerner.
Yeah, the late, great Joan Kerner. This is the one that was in the op shop, and we're giving it away to a good home, to a hardcore fan. So yeah.
Got to get that poster.
Get it quick. So make sure you do your best barge ass quote as well as a fart noise, please. Then send it to champagnelateshow@gmail.com. Also, Twitter @TLSChampagne, champagnecomedy.com, or Facebook, The Late Show, and also the Champagne Comedy Podcast. On the group, it's on private, but answer the 3 questions and you're in. And also the Redbubble store, bit.ly, Champagne Comedy. So I just want to say a big thank you to Alison, Daniel, Kim, and Tony for coming back after a bit of a break.
Yeah, great to be back.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, well, we'll see you next time in the Champagne Comedy Podcast. My name is Matt. Catch you all next time. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Nothing like a big prop.
Thank you for listening to the Champagne Comedy Podcast, created by fans for the fans. For more information on this podcast, please visit champagnecomedy.com. Produced by Matt Fulton Productions, mattfulton.com.au.